hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3 never fails. Dutch Mantell,
Uh,
back in full effect on Smack Talk. How you doing, Dutch?
did I just drop out right
Yes, you
then?
did. Yes, you did.
Folks, I'm going to tell you, I apologize for it. We're on StreamYard, and I'm not going to bitch and moan and complain, but I've had this thing for, I don't know, the whole time I've been doing this right here on SmackDown, and it's never worked right. I don't know what's wrong with it. And people look at me, well, it's not working. Okay, tell me something I don't know. I know that. Tell me how to fix it. Oh, you don't know? I said, no, well, no, I don't know. If I knew, I'd fix it. Because I'm the most illiterate computer guy in the world. Think of the worst you've ever known and double it. And that's me. But anyway, yeah, I watched the show. What do you think overall?
Overall, it was fine. I would go as far as saying it was solid. Not the most must-watch edition of SmackDown. If you missed it, you didn't miss much, but we're glad you're here with us.
Well, I'll make it more exciting than that when I start talking about it. But I thought the show was okay. Oh, it wasn't a knockdown, drag out thing from the beginning. No, it wasn't. But it was a maintenance show because they're going to the UK
Yeah.
and they're talking about that. And there were some things I liked, but it was, I will agree, it was a solid show, really.
There we go. So we're gonna discuss all about it. I see people in the chat asking about Rick. Rick was not able to join us this week. He is working at his other job doing the radio in Cincinnati. You can always see Rick here, usually with us every Friday, and he says that this week or next week, or one or the other, this week or next week will be the final time he misses Smack Talk. So he's
I
got
think it's,
someone who could fill in for him now.
yeah, I think it's next week. Hey, Rick needs to
Yeah.
tell the people he's working for to hire somebody. If they're that hard up to pay somebody, then they need to get out of the radio business. I'm sorry, Rick, I didn't mean to say that, but I guess you might get blamed for me saying that, but I'll take the heat for it because I don't work for him. But I think he's going to be
There
gone
you go.
next week. And Rick, we're going to accept this time that you're going to miss the show. But next time, we're getting a little wise to this, down filling in for people and all that crap. If we sit here and wait for you every Friday night, you're off God knows where doing God knows what. So, and blaming it on your job. I think you should be just a little bit more creative when you miss this show. Because
Yeah,
I ain't buying it.
he's making me play point guard. I'm a two guard. I just like to shoot shots and come in here and give my critiques of the show instead of
Yeah,
having to recap the show like Rick usually
dribble
does.
length of the court and then ended up with a big dunk. And then
Yeah,
we
I like to dunk the ball. I like to dunk and shoot threes. I don't like to dribble and have to pass off, assist the ball like I'd have to do to you today, Dutch. But you're a good scorer yourself.
okay. But the show tonight was a maintenance show because they got the London show next week. Wait a minute. Did they say what matches are on SmackDown next week?
Well, next week we got Charlotte Flair versus Asuka for the WWE Women's Championship. We also got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Pretty Deadly for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. We got Logan Paul on the Grayson Waller effect, and we got Roman Reigns returns again. He was
Okay.
only gone for a week. Why are we saying that he's returning?
So that will be on SmackDown.
That's all SmackDown next week in London.
Well, that's a great card to get all that. So let me ask you something while we're talking here. Grayson Waller, you think he's getting over?
We'll talk about that when we get to his segment, but I think it's more to do with he was injured in his final matchup in NXT, and I think they're using the Grayson Waller effect to kind of introduce him to the fans. But I don't know if he's getting quite over in this role just yet because they haven't really put any focus on him. His segments are used to put focus or hype up something else, not him.
Oh, I agree. Okay, I will accept that, but they're going to have to work a little harder with him, I think. But okay, let's start the show.
Let's get into things. I'll highlight a few comments here before we get started. We got Ricky who asks, "Why are you doing this during Rampage?" We made the announcement a few weeks back
Yeah.
that we are starting at 10:05 p.m. now. Now that Collision has started, we're gonna be starting at 10:05 p.m. Eastern time. Don't worry. If anything important happens on Collision, maybe we'll mention it here. I believe there is gonna be a big match named for Forbidden Door, but I'll say that at the end of the show that was made, and a big debut that is happening on Rampage, which we'll mention here on the show as well as we after we recap SmackDown here. So don't worry, all the major points from Rampage will be discussed here. We're just starting an hour earlier. We need Dutch to go to sleep early on Friday nights here.
Damn right. Hell, I'm staying up all night. I slept like 2 hours last night.
And plus, Dutch can only watch one AEW show per week, and now he wants to watch AEW Collision because he liked the first show, right, Dutch?
Oh, the first show was very good, except they didn't give us anything for this week, but the show was fine. Show was good.
They saved all the hype for Dynamite for Rampage for Collision. They did name some stuff on Dynamite this week, like the main event of CMFTR and Ricky Starks versus Bullet Club Gold and the Guns tomorrow night. So and we'll touch on that as well. Noob saying that tonight's show it was fine, but I do like Asuka with that cartoony salute that is going to be a
That
meme by WWE on Fox. Yes,
I really like.
definitely
I,
is.
anyway, I don't like the women's division because they're killing my Lacey Evans girl. But
Never fails, right? Never
uh,
fails.
oh, listen, if I like you, it's like the kiss of death. They listen to the show and they say, "Screw him. We're gonna whoever he likes. We'll just go the other way." Okay.
Well, let's talk about tonight's shows for SmackDown, the opening segment after a recap of what went down in the final segment last week. We had the Usos come out to a huge reaction from this crowd, very loud Uso chants for Jimmy and Jay. They soaked in the response, and then Jay started off with the bloodline, and then Jimmy told him, nah, fix that, correct that. And he said, the Usos are in your city. Jimmy asked Jay how he was feeling after last week. The crowd was chanting Usi. I would have loved if he said, I'm feeling Usi after last week. That would have been great. Great callback. But Jay noted that they're about to fight their own family, and it's not supposed to be like that. Jay started to ramble a bit, and Jimmy stopped him to say he thinks Jay made the absolute perfect choice last week, and they give each other an embrace. Jay said that they still love Roman Reigns, which the crowd boos a little. He says they do. He's their family. Jay spoke to Roman into the camera and said he would have done anything Roman told him to do. They held it down for 3 years together. They fell in line. They did everything that Roman wanted to do. Where Roman messed up was when he disrespected Jay and Jimmy. And Jimmy said that respect is huge, and they were in the most dominant faction in WWE. But once Roman stopped showing the Usos respect, the Usos left him on the island of relevancy all alone. Jay said that they can forgive Roman, but they can't forgive those outside the circle. And Jimmy talked about how Jimmy and Jay were built on respect, but they didn't trust any snakes like Paul Heyman. And Paul Heyman was trying to put a rift between the brothers, and that's where the real problem started. And there's going to be a civil war at Money in the Bank. And Jay said everyone is looking at the best tag team in the world. And Jay said at Money in the Bank, it's the Uso. You're welcome to the Uso Penitentiary, and it's locked down. And they welcomed Solo and Roman to the Uso Penitentiary. I thought this was a really good promo. Really good promo. You could tell both guys were fired up. hyped up the Bloodline Civil War for Money in the Bank. What did you think about Jimmy and Jay's promo here?
Oh, I thought it was good, really good. I do like the Uso penitentiary line. I like that. So I think we need the victory line. I would like to know what the inside actually looks like. Now
Inside of the Uso Penitentiary?
yeah, I want to see it. Now they got me. That's kind of out of the realm of WWE stuff when you have a penitentiary, because I've never heard anything like that. So now they can have a penitentiary match. Now it opens up a lot of stuff, but I want to see what that inside of that penitentiary looks like. So, you ever been in a penitentiary, Sid?
I I've toured it. I haven't did any time though.
Uh,
Luckily for me.
you ever go to jail?
No, I haven't.
You never?
You Dutch?
Hell yeah. So many times? No, I haven't really. Never been to jail. I've been by jails, but I tried to live my life just jail. But really good promo, and the crowd in Baton Rouge, they were eating it up, and those guys are really really over. But we knew by watching that the Jimmy and Jay were going to be baby faces one day, because the young guys are good looking guys and people like them, and I think this is really going to do good. I don't know how long this angle will run, because I didn't predict it would run 3 years either. Nobody predicted
No.
that, but they've done a great job with it, and I don't know where it's going to go, but I can look at it now like a fan and enjoy it and look forward to how it's going to run its course, if it runs its course. Because I had a booker tell me one time, and I've always adopted this: never let an angle die. How many times have we seen in WWE they work this angle and all of a sudden it goes to a pay-per-view and they blow it off and then it's gone. Now you got to go back to square one and start building something else. Why don't you just kind of get out of the angle for 2 weeks and come back to it? Because the people haven't forgotten it. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it always made sense for me. So good interview by the Usos.
I agree with you. I thought it was a strong interview, a nice follow up, hearing their reaction to everything that went down last week. And that's what this week was really all about. It was kind of the aftermath of what went down in last week's closing segment, because after the opening matchup, we go backstage and we see Solo Sikoa walking with Paul Heyman, and Ridge Holland walks by them and asks Solo, "What are you looking at?" And Solo just catches him with the Samoan spike right to the
Is that what he said? What
yeah,
do you? Oh, okay.
right to the throat. And Ridge Holland is injured. He's choking from the Samoan spike. And Paul Heyman basically says, "Call Roman Reigns."
Yeah.
Because he realizes that this is going to be an issue with Solo kind of going manic after what happened last week. What did you think about that segment?
Well, I think SmackDown needs to work on its medical team, because we took a break then, right?
Yeah.
And he came back and nobody was with him. That's 3 minutes. So what did he do for 3 minutes? He went,
He was choking, and while Adam Pierce caught it, and he checked on him, but we needed medical staff to work a little faster there.
But I overthink that. But that was good. Now we got him out of the way, and we'll see now why they got him out of the way. Where was Butch tonight?
They did say on commentary that Butch was he was basically traveling to the UK for Money in the Bank. So
Those lying bastards. He's not grabbing
shame.
today. Why was he? Okay.
He got to do media. He got to do media in the UK.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
Well, maybe he. So okay.
There you go. Back from break, we see Sheamus. He's checking on Ridge Holland, and he says that he won Solo Sikoa. And Adam Pearce says that he's gonna handle it. He needs to talk to Paul Heyman, but Sheamus says that's not good enough. So he goes out in front of the crowd with a microphone and he calls out Solo Sikoa. He says he'd give Sikoa the fight of his life and stomped to the back afterwards, and then it's made official: Solo Sikoa versus Sheamus, and that was our main event for the show. And I thought it was a nice little physical back and forth matchup, very hard hitting between these two guys. I didn't think they were kind of giving it like the full throttle of what we expect from him. But man, Sheamus, man, he's just a workhorse. He did 5 matches last week in like 15 minutes, and then this week he has a 15-minute main event, and he got a lot out of Solo in this one. But it goes to a no contest after Solo Sikoa brings the fight to the outside.
I like the finish.
Yeah,
Because finish, you didn't beat him. You know, he put him through the deal, and his back was already hurt. They told that story, so they stopped the match. I like that finish. I don't know why they don't do more finishes like that. Just to you see it boxing all the time. They stop a fight, the guy, punishment. But I like the finish because it helped Solo and didn't hurt Sheamus. I like that.
yeah, I think Solo stepped up in this one where he had to keep up with one of their best workers in the ring, and I think he did a good job at that. And I think that this is one of the things that kind of got switched up, because I don't know if this was the plan all along to do this matchup, because we did get a report from Worked Wrestling and Fightful before the show that a lot of changes to the show happened, which you can assume was probably due to Vince McMahon making changes to the show. So this was probably not the plan to begin with, but it was definitely the best match on the night. And like you said, the finish was interesting because the whole focus of the matchup was Sheamus with the bad back, and Solo bring him to the outside, hits him with the Samoan spike, lays him against the barricade, and hits a big hip attack, breaking through the barricade, and the referee calls for the bell. So it wasn't even a referee stoppage, it was a no contest to this matchup. We get attendants and officials who come out and check on Sheamus. Solo Sikoa is going crazy. He's beating up the attendants, beating up officials, and then finally Jimmy and Jay come out. We get a big brawl between the three brothers, where Jimmy and Jay just hit Solo with a barrage of super kicks to lay him out, and then finally hit the Uso splash to end the show and stand tall this week. What did you think about everything with the final matchup between Solo and Sheamus and the beatdown by the Usos onto Solo?
Well, that was predictable, but it was good. It was good. Now they finally touch again. So and then they turned, and I was thinking, did you watch Paul Heyman during the match?
Great facial expressions. He was awesome.
He was on tonight, and he was doing this, and he doesn't usually do that, but tonight he was doing it, and it was very, very good. Then they turned and they left. Then I was thinking, wait a minute, they didn't acknowledge Paul Heyman. Then it's almost like they heard me. I mean, they were ahead of me anyway. And then they came back in and looked at him, and they steal a lot of money with Paul Heyman, a lot of money. But they I really didn't like about it is Solo was stretched out during the whole time. I thought he'd have kind of just rolled off and dropped to the floor. So, but again, that's nitpicking. But the crowd in Baton Rouge, they love the Usos,
Yeah.
and I think that's their team now, and I think they got a very bright future ahead of them, especially the next year. So I'm proud of those guys. When did
So how
they
do you
when did they start in WWE?
the Usos started in 2010
Wow.
as
Well,
on the main roster at least.
yeah, I was there in 2013, 14, 15.
That was really their first rise where they really they showed a lot of improvement around that time when you were there.
They were. I remember one time we was in the ring with them. You're talking about Vince just a second ago. Here's a little story. I was on the outside. Swagger was inside, and Claudio, what they call him then?
Cesaro.
Oh, Cesaro. So we were going to beat them. I may have told this story before. And all of a sudden, referee says, change the finish. I said, well, hell, don't tell me. Tell those guys. And they changed the finish right in the middle of the match. And we ended up, getting beat by the Usos when the original plan was for us to go over. So, and they changed it in mid-course. I guess Vince says, change the finish. And they changed the finish, and I was going like, what the hell, guys? And we went in the back, and nobody said nothing. Vince didn't say nothing. We didn't say nothing. What is there to say? So anyway, I don't know how many people that's happened to, anybody else, but it happened to us.
And I remember you guys worked with them a lot during that time because you also were in that matchup on the pre-show to WrestleMania 30. That was when Cesaro basically turned on Swagger, right?
I think he didn't turn there, but I think he turned the next day on Raw, I think.
Well, and he did the swing. Remember, he did the swing to Swagger before he won Andre on the pre-show to WrestleMania 30.
What? Okay. What was that a 3-way?
I'm not. I don't remember. I remember it was like a multi-man tag team
Yeah,
matchup, and
I remember
it came down to the Real Americans and the Usos in the end.
it was four. It was four teams in it.
Yeah,
I think one team went out. Then we went out because that crowd of New Orleans, they were really behind the Real Americans. And when we left, I was going up the ramp. I remember this. And I told Jack and Cesaro, hear the crowd? And they went, because the crowd was doing nothing. They said, they're doing nothing. I said, exactly, because they didn't like that finish. We're leaving, and it's quiet as hell. And when they get quiet like that, they didn't like that finish. They didn't want us. They didn't want Swagger and Cesaro leaving so early. They wanted us to win it. And we were supposed to be heels. They should have got a big pop when you beat the heels, but they didn't get it. Because my message that I was giving, a lot of people kind of liked it. It was like in the middle. I was preaching American. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, so continue.
no, it was a good memory that you got there from that time when you guys were feuding with the Usos, and they've come a long way. So, do you think they're gonna parlay all this, popularity that they have now? I know you said last week you believe, like me and Rick, that they're gonna get the win in this Bloodline Civil War. But what do you see kind of the future holding for them? Do you think you're gonna see maybe just Jay going one-on-one with Roman at in the future, or do you think they can potentially do both Jimmy and Jay in a top position in like a triple threat against Roman for the title?
Roman and Solo, they can.
No, I mean, Jimmy and Jay versus Roman in like a triple threat for the title.
To me, that would be stretching what they have. Because I don't think Jimmy and Jay need to have any kind of contact between them physically. They don't want to see
That's
that.
fair.
They don't want to see that. They could beat Roman up all day long. They just keep falling out of their seats. But if you got it down to two of them, if they had to turn on each other or face each other, I don't think people would buy that. Unless they had something where they said, "Oh, screw it," then they continue beating the shit out of a Roman. They might get it there. But anyway, but again, I'm a fan. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm watching it like everybody else. And when it happens, I'll tell you if I like it or not and whether it makes sense to me.
Well, let's talk about the rest of the show because the opening matchup was one of your other favorites, Dutch. LA Knight actually getting a win over Rey Mysterio. This
You know
one
what?
went,
You know what that tells me? This tonight, I think, was the start of the big push for LA Knight. He, the guy stayed over with the maximum male models. And I predicted dead on arrival for those guys, and they were dead on arrival, except LA Knight. And what was his name then?
Max Dupree.
And that was a stupid name. Max Dupree, my ass. Let's go back to calling him LA Knight. It's got three syllables.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me talk to you. And he's a great interview. A great interview. So, but when they separated him from them, I think he started and they still were, and they still, but still he stayed over. So anybody who can withstand that opposition like that and still get a pop out of the crowd, and to WWE's credit, they didn't discount that. They listened because fans they tell you things by response.
Yeah.
So when creative listens, they'll know what the true feelings are on the talent, and they read the crowd right. And I think now, I think he probably win Money in the Bank.
Well, I wanted to bring that up, but first with the matchup, LA Knight getting the win over Rey Mysterio, probably his biggest win on the main roster so far. It went 8 minutes, 35 seconds. I thought it was solid, but there was a lot of sloppy spots, especially towards the end. It just felt like they were just not on the same page towards the end of the matchup before LA Knight hit blunt force trauma for the win. But I want to ask you, your thoughts on the matchup, but also the fact that now the Money in the Bank will also include Logan Paul, who announced his involvement in the matchup on Monday's Raw. Do you think that that might be a person that WWE chooses to go with as the winner of Money in the Bank over LA Knight, or do you think LA Knight's chances to win next Saturday are still strong?
Oh, I think they're still strong. Now I may be completely wrong. I don't think they'll go with Logan Paul because Logan Paul at this point is part timer.
Yeah, that is true.
The
He
bank.
is a part-time mistake.
What'd you say? He's
I said he still is a part timer, but
yeah.
I think that's the reason why some people feel like he has a strong chance because they really haven't done the whole Money in the Bank being on a part timer, other than Brock Lesnar, who only held it for about a month. But it could be interesting where you have a part timer who has the Money in the Bank, so anytime he's back on the show, you think he's going to cash in.
Possibly. But I think I'm gonna still go with LA Knight. I think his chances are better than Logan Paul, and by being a part timer, he's not there every week. So you got to have that threat that somebody could cash in at any point. So what if he tried to cash in on Roman Reigns right after the week he wins it? He only gets one shot at it, right?
Yeah.
And if he don't make it, it's thrown away. So still, I'm gonna say my odds of LA Knight winning the Money in the Bank still very strong.
That's fair. That is fair. Well, next we had a big title matchup on the show. You had Shayna Baszler and Ronda Rousey versus Isla Dawn and Alba Fire to unify the WWE and NXT Women's Tag Team Championships. And I actually really enjoyed this one. I thought that they gave a lot to Dawn of Fire, the unholy union. They got a lot of the offense in this one. You had Ronda Rousey busting out a poison Rana before the commercial break, and then they took the heat on Alba Fire for a bit there before Isla Dawn got the hot tag. She She came in. She was a house of fire for a little bit there. And before Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler do a double submission, the armbar by Ronda and the Kurafina clutch by Shayna Baszler to pick up the victory here. This one got a bunch of time, just under 10 minutes here. And Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are the first ever WWE unified women's tag team champions. But the interesting part of this is before the matchup at the commentary table, we see once again WWE spitting in the face of the whole brand split in draft with Raw's Raquel Rodriguez at ringside. But Ronda, after the match, asks Raquel, "What are you even doing here?" And Raquel says that she's here to make a challenge for the titles that we never lost. And Shayna asks, says that, "Who's we?" She was like, "We've beaten everybody. We broke all the limbs, all the bones. We've made everybody tap out. Who's we?" And Raquel says, "We who held the titles." And of course, that brings out the returning Liv Morgan, who was just injured just a few weeks back, about 7 weeks back, and she's already back. Very glad to see her back, and it seems like we're getting Raquel and Liv versus Ronda and Shayna next. What did you think about the matchup here with Isla Dawn and Alba Fire versus Ronda and Shayna, and then the post-match with Liv Morgan's return?
Well, Isla Dawn, as they're announcing her,
Yes.
L.A., and I've always said that Isla, because
No,
that's
it's
what
Isla. The S is silent.
Yeah. But in Spanish, I was in Puerto Rico, Isla is island. So, but I'm not sold on those girls. They were, how long were they in NXT?
Well, Isla Dawn started off in NXT UK and then she came over to NXT. I think she's been there though since like 2019 or so. So she was there on the NXT UK and then the main brand for about 3-4 years. And then Alba Fire, I think, came in like a 2019 or late 2018. So she was there for like 3-4 years or so.
Yeah. The match was, I actually think that the heels gave them a little too much. And now I know they want to make them. So I think they may have, I think Ronda Rousey, she should be tougher than what she is. Again, that's nitpicking, but the match was fine. It did what it's supposed to do. I did like the double tap out, even though only one counted, and that was a good finish too. So I like that one. Hey, I'm liking way too much on this show. I mean, I got to be more negative. Hell, I can't agree with everything. What the hell?
Hey, I like this match as well. I wasn't too high on Rey Mysterio and LA Knight because I expected more from them, and they just felt off, especially with that finish there.
Wait a minute. Okay, so who did you expect to win?
With which one?
Knight and me, LA
I
Knight.
th- I, th- I thought LA Knight would win because Ray's not in anything at Money in the Bank, so it made sense for LA Knight to win.
But do you think most average fans thought that Mysterio would win?
I think that most fans would have thought that LA Knight was going to win because he's in Money in the Bank and Ray isn't. And if you know the reports that came out before the show was originally it was advertised as LA Knight versus Santos Escobar versus Butch in a triple threat on the show. And then of course, like I said, major changes happened to the show and it was moved to LA Knight versus Rey Mysterio. So that's another factor of why I thought LA Knight was going to win.
Who did you say was going to be in the three-way originally scheduled?
The three SmackDown guys that's in the Money in the Bank: Butch, Escobar, and Knight.
Mm-hmm.
So Butch was there. Butch was there because they advertised him to be in a triple threat. So they lied.
He said he was on his way to the UK.
That's what they said on commentary. They lied.
And they actually lied to us? Those bastards. But anyway, I think LA Knight against Mysterio single match was probably better, I think. I hate three ways anyway. I don't know why. Every time I've been in the three-way, I never liked it, never enjoyed it. Of course, I've not been in that too many of them, but I just didn't like it.
You're probably the first man that ever said they don't like three ways.
Stop it. Wait a minute. We gonna get a 1-star rating. I'm telling you, you can't talk like that. You know.
Come on, you left that open for me.
I,
We next had
I did. I did.
we next had the Grayson Waller effect. Waller got the big introduction as usual, and he introduced his guest, Pretty Deadly. Waller added that they added on commentary that they had like a disco ball apparently on the set, and that was given to them by the royal family or something like that.
Mm.
That Pretty Deadly says that the Grayson Waller effect is so much better than the KO show. Waller said that it was nice to have people on the show who have style and banter. Waller brought up the fact that next week Pretty Deadly will take on Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. And Elton Prince started talking about how he doesn't believe Owens and Zayn having given them their proper respect, and that they were surprised that they won last week. The crowd gives them a big "shut up" chant in response. Prince talks about how Owens and Zayn have giant egos and they keep getting at each other's throats. Prince says that Pretty Deadly will be on the same page for at least the next 10 years, while Zayn and Owens' egos will get in the way. Waller brought up how Pretty Deadly won against five of the best teams in WWE last week, and they go through all the names of how they're the Iron Men of SmackDown. And Pretty Deadly notes that they beat the LWO, they beat the OC, they beat Hit Row. They were barely there, but we beat them. They beat the Brawling Brutes. They beat the Street Profits, and this cues up the Street Profits to come out. The Profits come out, and Montez Ford yells that they want the smoke, and as a result, we got Pretty Deadly versus the Street Profits was made, and that was next. And I thought this was a pretty good matchup here between two of the best teams in WWE in general, especially on SmackDown here. And I was happy that Street Profits got a little bit more time than they got last week. I thought they gave Pretty Deadly probably their best match on the main roster so far. It goes 9 minutes in this one, and in the end, Pretty Deadly get the win with Elton Prince getting his feet on the ropes while Wilson held on to them behind the referee's back. I thought it was a good matchup. What did you think about the Grayson Waller effect with Pretty Deadly and then their matchup with the Street Profits here?
Well, Grayson Waller, I'm not really sold on him yet. Where is he from?
Australia.
Okay. Well, I'm not sold on him yet, and I don't think this talk segment that he's doing. I think it's, you say he's hurt. Well, it's probably filling in, but I'm not. And I did comment about a couple of weeks ago that Deadly Serious. What's their name?
Pretty Deadly. Pretty Deadly.
Remember their name for some reason. They're kind of wearing on me a little bit, and I'm kind of liking them a little more because they're smart ass heels, and you want to see them. If they do that, you want to see them get the dog shit beat out of them. But they're a good team. I like their outfits.
Oh, I loved Montez Ford taking off the bra and then putting it on.
And this was the best match of the night, I think. And I think the right team won it in the right way. I don't think it hurt the Street Profits at all. And see, remember we were talking not too long ago that they're going to break up the Street Profits. Now this could be and that was like a month ago.
Yeah.
And they still could.
They're still going to be doing that.
You think they will?
I mean, there has to be a reason why they're taking so many losses, and you would think that if in the future their plans is to put the titles on Pretty Deadly, Street Profits would be one of their top challengers to have. Like, you could have easily had the OC in this spot and saved the Pretty Deadly Street Profits matchup for when Pretty Deadly eventually win the titles.
Well, it was a good match. Best of the night, I think. And Pretty Deadly, they emerge victorious. And the chicken shit heels. I enjoy their little chicken shit heel act, and it's good. And I'm still wondering what they're going to do with the Street Profits. But whatever at least they have my attention. And now whatever they do, if it makes sense, I'll go with it. And I think the average fan will go with it too.
I think most of all that the Grayson Waller effect, I thought this was probably the most effective use of the Grayson Waller effect because I felt like I understood the characters more of Pretty Deadly after this matchup. Like you said, they're the cocky, overconfident, obnoxious heels that you want to
Mhm.
see get their face punched in, and I think they got across those characters very well during the promo.
Their outfit, it gets over with me. When they come down, you say, what the hell are they wearing? And I guess that had to be their idea to get that outfit made like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Very good. So again, even though this was uh, a maintenance show, they got some people over tonight.
Yeah.
And I'd have to give it a positive.
Well, we got a super chat donation. Thank you so much to Roland Curtis, always supporting us here during Smack Talk. He says Dutch mentioned a finish change in a past matchup. Do you think that the finish for LA Knight versus Mysterio was changed? There was confusion and sloppiness at the end, and out of the sloppiness, they just went home. I mean, I'll hand it over to you, Dutch. I don't think there was a finish change on the fly, but maybe I don't know. It just seemed like there was just a misfooting on Mysterio. He wasn't on the money in this matchup.
Well, Mysterio was so good. He is almost perfect in his work, and sometimes things like that happen. I think this might have been the first time, but this is not the first time they've worked, right?
On the main roster, it is. I think so. Yeah.
Well, I don't think the finish was changed mid-match, so I think they just kind of got off focus, and it got kind of messed up. But I think the right guy won. And see, wrestling doesn't have to be perfect all the time because it already looks like routines that are practiced anyway. So sometimes when you get a little misstep in there, we're
Can
so
add to it.
we're so used to Mysterio not missing anything. But the 9.99, hell, I got to give a 2 minute answer now. Really, no. Uh, I don't think it was changed. I think it was that way from the beginning because even though our finish was changed on TV, but it was changed on SmackDown because back in those days, SmackDown was a bastard show. It was like an afterthought. Raw was their big baby, and we were on SmackDown, so they didn't.
They didn't give a damn.
They gave Raw. Now SmackDown is their A show, and Raw pulls up the rear. And Raw is a 3 hour show.
Yeah.
That's one reason I think it's not as strong as SmackDown. It's almost too much because how long we been watching SmackDown?
You've been on here.
Watching me longer than me.
Oh well, yeah, yeah. I think I started on review show probably just a few months before you, but you started around WrestleMania 37 in 2021.
Hmm. So, and I've learned that when I sit down to watch 2 hours of wrestling, It gets long sometimes, unless they're holding my attention. But SmackDown has held my attention lately because they've
Yeah.
done a really, really good job. But now, if you compare 3 hours, hell, that's a commitment. I mean, it's almost like I'm going to watch this 3 hours every week. And really, I think people that watch Raw 3 hours, they must have a secret desire to be punished or something.
You're basically explaining why Vince Russo is usually on this channel very upset after on Mondays nights.
Oh, Vince. Yeah, I'd really hate the Raw rundown. If we had to run Raw down, I don't know what I'd do. I guess I'd do it, but Raw has peaks and valleys like every show does. But when it drops, it really drops, and it's got to drop in
Yeah.
that third. Because a lot of times when you look at those ratings, the third hour, they drop to a point and they don't drop anymore. And the reason being is they don't.
People get tired.
Anyway, but I do
Right.
like SmackDown better than Raw because I do think it's a better show. Plus, it only has 2 hours to fill as opposed to 3 hours. And I know the other hour is all a financial arrangement because they make a lot more money. But hard to keep people interested in a regular wrestling show for 3 hours. I'm moving,
Very true.
and I look at the time. Okay, 90 minutes. Oh, good. I can watch this 90 minutes. But when it goes 2 hours and 50 minutes, I'm going, what? Or 3 hours, I can't do it.
It's like a
I,
tap out.
I don't even watch it. So if it's that long, they can't hold my attention that long. So
We
that's
do,
that.
we do have another super chat donation from Animal Instinct. Thank you so much for that. He says Lacey Evans would fit with Jackson Riker. Not fair. He was bullied out of the industry, but CM Punk can push his politics whenever he wants. Riker was good. I mean,
It,
Riker,
it is what it is.
yeah,
No need to getting into a political speech here because whatever you believe in that area, that's your beliefs. So, in Animal Instinct, $5. I think you're right. That's all I'm gonna say.
he thinks you're right because you paid us.
Oh yeah. Now, next time, Animal, add 2 or 3 more bucks to that. Now you may get a little more of an answer. But that gets into the area of politics, and I don't want to talk about it.
You're in a lose-lose situation,
Yeah,
regardless there. And the, the biggest difference between Riker and CM Punk is CM Punk is a draw. That's pretty as simple as I can put it. Charlotte Flair defeated Lacey Evans next. Lacey, poor Lacey, like they can't decide what they want her character to be.
uh,
She's basically Sergeant Slaughter light now with this new act, and this matchup was basically a squash. It only went 2 minutes 30 seconds. She did her salute a couple of times, pose, and Charlotte took advantage, hit the big boot, gets the figure eight for the win. She continues having the figure eight on after the bell, and Asuka comes in. She attacks Charlotte, hits her with a sleeping leg to the face, and her shoes pop off during the whole attack. She does the little salute.
on that. Her shoes come off, and then she gives the salute. I popped on that. I really did.
And she's wearing like the most cartoonish attire ever, like bright pink pants, the colorful shirt, she's got the colorful hair, and Asuka walks out with the WWE Women's Championship ahead of her title match against Charlotte next week. What did you think about the squash match with Charlotte and Lacey and the attack by Asuka?
I hated it. Lacey Evans really deserves better. I don't mind her getting beat. I mean, that's just part of the business. But give her just a, and maybe not with put somebody else with Flair. Put somebody else with Charlotte if they can. But both these girls are pretty big girls, and Lazy. I'm kind of partial to her. I like her. You like her too. I think they could put somebody else in there because the match was so short. They were just working toward the finish for Asuka to make her way into the ring. But it is what it is. It didn't. I don't think it hurt anybody, and they just worked that little bit of more of an angle between Asuka and Flair to. Okay, she's going for her 15th.
Her 15th women's championship on the main roster.
So they're working to beat the 16 that her dad had, right?
Pretty much. Yes, we're at that point.
So when she wins this, then she'll lose it.
Yep.
Then she's going for the 16th, which will be to tie her dad, which would actually be a big deal.
Yeah.
I think maybe WrestleMania next year, I think.
I can see that.
And if she breaks it, that's probably Money in the Bank or maybe SummerSlam or something the next year. So they got something to look forward to. So she will be 17 times women's champion in WWE. That will never be broken.
Yeah, it literally took what I think 2 decades for John Cena to tie her dad. He did that in 2017. Flair's 16th championship was in 99, so nearly 20 years. So.
Well, and Cena has 16 too.
Yeah. She's currently tied, I believe, with Randy Orton with 14.
In the last year, they've all of a sudden went back in their history.
Yeah.
And all these records that most wrestling fans don't put that together. I mean, they will believe, what the announcers tell them. But now since they brought this up, so many days, a guy's champion, so many title reigns, and now they've made it mean something. They have made it work for them. So they mentioned something tonight with Pedro Morales.
Yeah, Roman Reigns has passed Pedro Morales for longest title reign. So now the only people ahead of Roman is Bob Backlund, Hulk Hogan, and Bruno Sammartino. So it's no longer 4 guys ahead of him. It's only 3 now.
Okay, how many? Well, he'll never catch Bruno, but
no.
Who's number 2?
Number 2 is Hogan. He had a 4-year reign.
And how far away is that?
Roman is about a year and a half from the 4-year reign.
So he won't last another year and a half as champion.
I don't see that. I don't know how you can get by another WrestleMania without Roman losing this title.
I don't either. But anyway, see, if you tune in here, we give you the
inside. We give you the inside seeds.
Oh yeah, this is actually people should be tipping more for this inside information. So, but anyway, what were we talking about?
Roland Curtis has a super chat donation for us, Dutch. Thank you once again, Roland, always supporting us here. He says, why do you think that Rousey and Baszler are unified champions instead of undisputed? And why is Roman Reigns undisputed champion instead of unified?
Wait a minute. Let me think about this a minute. That's a good question. And to that question, I must answer, I don't have an effing clue. I don't. When that creative gets together, I think they do that. Then it goes around and then they come up with it. And then somebody says, well, what are we going to tell the fans? They said, let them figure it out. Hell, we don't got to tell them. And I've heard that around a creative table. Hell, they can figure that crap out. So, but I don't have a clue why that is. It just is. So, and when
Yeah,
did WWE ever been expected to follow logic? They
exactly. Exactly.
actually
I think
follow
I
more
think
logic now than they ever have before, and then they're still missing.
I think it's the fact that they already have the undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions. They already got the undisputed Universal Champion. They didn't want a third undisputed, so people are confused because people are already confused that Roman is not undisputed because you literally have another world champion now. So he can't, in by definition, he can't be undisputed. Roman should be the unified Universal Champion at this point. It would make more sense if he was the unified one, not Ronda and Shayna.
I agree. So, but see, all that stuff misses me. I mean, I don't really, if I was a fan, which I am, but I'm not, sitting around thinking about things like that. I mean, I could be thinking about, well, I need to cut my grass, or I need to make the car payment, or I need to do something else. But sitting around thinking about that, and Roland, I give you credit for doing it, but I don't have an answer for that. I wouldn't even attempt to make an answer because I don't know.
That's fair. That is fair. Well, thank you, Roland, for the super chat donation. One final segment to mention here. You had Bianca Belair was shown talking to Adam Pearce backstage, where Adam Pearce basically asked her about wanting to be ringside next week. She says she wants to be ringside to make sure that nobody cuts her in the line. And Pearce asks her, well, if Charlotte or Asuka try to attack you, would you defend yourself? And she says yes. And Pearce says that there is too much at stake. So as a result, Bianca Belair will be barred from ringside during next week's title match. And Belair questions Pearce again, saying that, oh, you want me to take your promise, just like last time when you let
Mhm.
me down. And she walks away. So it does not sound like Ronda Rousey, Bianca Belair is going to listen to Adam Pearce and stay barred from ringside during this matchup. What do you think this is all leading? Because they've been really kind of focusing on Bianca and Pierce having empty promises to Belair.
Pierce is useless. Nobody listens to him. He does. He goes out there, and every time I see him out there, he's always on the phone, and I don't know. He can make a match like just on the fly, and they talk about all this kind of this marketplace of great matches. But if he can make it on the fly, I mean, I don't know. I don't like him in the role. I don't think he's. I, I think he was better on one of those segments they did where he stood up to him a little bit.
When he tries to
About
stand up to
a,
somebody, you guys.
yeah. Well, he's much better at that. I don't think he's very effective. I think they could take that role and do a lot better with it. How did he get in that role anyway?
He just showed up one week and they gave him a role, I guess. I don't know.
He just showed up. Well,
He
here,
just showed up.
get over there in the corner and leave us alone. See, it's like,
Here's a job. Shut up.
yeah, it's like, why do they have a undisputed and a, I don't know, and I don't know why he ended up.
We
Just
don't know why Pierce has a job and why they're undisputed. No.
yeah, I don't get it either. So, but I think his role, since they're using him in an important spot, could be a lot better. But her barred at ringside, it's reverse psychology. You know that if they bar her, she's coming in
Yeah.
somewhere. She may not be there at the start, but she's going to come in. So it's like saying, don't say this. And as soon as you say it to wrestling fans, they're going to start saying it. So it's always been that way. Don't call me chicken. It's like,
Don't call me a
just
coward.
say it. It's like telling them, yeah, go ahead and say it. So go
Pretty
figure.
much.
Yeah.
All right, Dutch, before we head out of here, we should mention what went down on Rampage since it just ended. And someone that you might know of actually made their return or official debut in AEW. John Morrison, John Hennigan, is
Yeah.
now in
What's his name?
AEW. He's gonna be Johnny TV, Johnny Television. He is gonna be aligned with QTV, QT Marshall, and Powerhouse Hobbs, Aaron Solo, and Harley Cameron. They all attacked the Acclaimed on the show, setting up a new rivalry there. Johnny Elite, any stories about John Morrison during your time in WWE or anywhere else that you have met the man now that he's gonna be a part of AEW?
Oh, I know him. I don't know him that well. I wasn't around him that long. So, but he was Johnny Impact, I think, when he was with TNA. Is that his
Yeah,
name? Impact?
yeah.
And I'm thinking, wait a minute, is John Morrison this, that? And that? Now, John Morrison, he got the name because of the Doors, the band.
Mhm.
What did he look like the guy or what?
I think, yeah, that was kind of the idea that he looked like the guy John Morrison, so that's why they went with that name. Because before that, he was Johnny Nitro.
But at least they're staying true to the what he's been doing. They're giving him another name to match the show he's on, which is good. But I have no stories about him. I guess he's a pretty good guy because I've heard no bad stories about him either. So it's like somebody's there, but and you have people in regular life, you know them, but you just know them. You don't know any of their background, any of their funny stories, or any of their bad stories, or the reputation, or anything. They just are, and nothing more. That's the way uh, Johnny. What's his name? What do they call
Yeah,
him? Johnny
you could
TV.
just call him, yeah, Johnny TV. Johnny
John,
TV is going to be
Johnny.
his name.
He's had so many names I can't even remember. But we'll see what they do with him.
I
How
think he's
was?
a good pickup for them.
Did you miss Rampage tonight?
Yeah, I was doing this show.
I know, but did no, I'm not saying miss it. But I'm saying did you miss it as being a fan?
Yeah, I would have liked to watch it live. They also named a new matchup for Forbidden Door as it's going to be Filthy Tom Lawler representing New Japan Pro Wrestling going up against Adam Cole. And tonight Rampage had the first appearance ever of MJF. Dutch, we miss MJF on Rampage.
What the hell? Now MJF, I like him. I think he cusses a little too much, curses a little too much on the mic, which because I think if you're going to talk, at least don't go street level with it. I mean, because he's a much better interview than that. He doesn't have to do it, but he's a good talent. And how big is that guy? He's not 6 foot tall, is he?
I believe he is. I think he is 6 foot tall, but he's gotten into a tremendous shape. Like he's yeah, he's no, he's 5'11" actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's
Five foot
bigger.
11, 229 pounds.
Yeah, Roddy Piper wasn't the biggest guy in the world either, but had tons of heat on him. But and the thing like MJF, you can watch him and think that in 2 years he'll be the top babyface because they'll take those heels like that, and the people start liking them, and then it's time to turn him. Now, what is the talk about? He may go to WWE.
Well, he has his whole gimmick right now is that he is going to be a free agent next year in 2024. So he's been saying that it's going to be the bidding war of 2024, and he's going to go to the highest bidder between WWE and AEW.
Good gimmick.
Yeah.
What? Okay, here's an outside thought. A Saudi Arabian wrestling company starts up, and they bid out the yin yang for him. Hey,
My
because
God,
they did the golf thing. Now I think they're getting into basketball.
yeah.
Hmm. And when they offer that Saudi Arabian money,
It's a lot.
oh,
It's a
it's
lot of
big.
money.
It really is. This is driving me crazy right here. I hate this.
I see you. I see you fiddling with it.
Oh
But
yeah, and it.
that brings us to a close on another edition of Smack Talk. Thank you, as always, Dutch. Even it's surviving through the StreamYard issues you've been having. I appreciate you sticking through it, surviving that, and let the people know where they can follow you on social media, your great podcast, and everything else you
So
want to do your plugs for before you cut out again.
just email me, Dirty Dutch Mantell with two L's at gmail.com. And you can catch me on Twitter at Dirty D Mantell. And I'm on Instagram as Dirty Dutchman1, I think. I mean, I have so many names. I need to consolidate them all and put them under one. Uh, but anyway, but then again, I think I've made it an issue that when it comes to social media and the computer and internet, I'm just internet.
As the
But
internet cuts you off again.
oh yeah, okay. I'm sorry for my feed bleeding out, and there's nothing I can do about it right now because I don't know why it's doing it. And nobody's helping. I'm not getting much help with it either. So
Nobody
okay,
seems to figure it out.
I'm gonna have to say you sent me a guy and he disappeared, or I disappeared, or something. But I was talking to him this week, and let me ask you: do you actually sign in?
I signed in before, but I have access to it now, so I don't have to sign in anymore.
Well, this actually works the same way it worked before, except
Yeah.
the drop. I don't get it.
I know you've only recently got this issue. It's weird. I don't know what's going on now. But you can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHillSP3. Go over to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel. I'll be going live tomorrow, 11:05 a.m. Eastern Time with the True Hill Heat flagship podcast talking about this week in wrestling. We're going to be previewing and giving predictions for NJPW AEW's Forbidden Door, which is this Sunday. One final prediction to close things off, Dutch. Who do you think wins on Sunday? Kazuka Okada, the top guy for New Japan Pro Wrestling, or Bryan Danielson of AEW? Who wins at Forbidden Door? You're muted, Dutch. Yeah, I can't hear you. What happened now? He's like, no. He's like, it's over. It's over. All right. Well, I tried to give y'all one prediction for the show, but Dutch Mantell is null and void. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. That was Dutch Mantell, and this has been Smack Talk. We will see you next Friday, y'all. Peace.